This is a good retirement for me. 20 years ago, the museum trustees didn't want anything.
Let's leave everything and go traveling. See what tomorrow brings. It's only a choice away. Let's back up and leave today. Let's see what tomorrow brings.
So cool to be back in Condor. He feels so different than driving in Goose or Tonto. It's funny to be in like a little car.
So just to make things clear though, so now we have no car with air conditioning or power steering in Arizona in summer. This month's okay. Next month could be interesting, but hopefully we're working a lot, and then we'll just drive these this week and next week maybe, and then we'll be working. Hope.
And then we get to store them both back up again. But I'm glad they both started. That's pretty exciting.
For sure.
So now that we could breathe a sigh of relief that both vehicles were running, it was time to enjoy riding bikes. We rode bikes a lot. I even got to ride horses. Thanks, Martha. We celebrated Tim's birthday, did a few projects, and then enjoyed some beers while watching trains. It was all pretty great. Then we figured we'd check out something we had been wanting to see for a few years.
Okay, so we're heading to the Franklin Auto Museum. I've always wanted to check this out, and in the heat of summer, it's never open. They close until it's cool again. So, looks like it's open, so I'm pretty stoked.
Most histories of the American auto industry mention Franklin, but seldom go beyond a footnote. This collection was amassed by one man, Tom Hubbard, who lived from 1925 until 1993. After embarking on a career as a mining engineer, he developed a keen interest in these cars and began restoring them professionally for big collectors like Bill Harrah. Later, he began to acquire and restore cars for himself. A few months before his death, Mr. Hubbard appeared on local TV to tell his life story and introduce Tucsonans to the well-kept secret that has become the Franklin Museum.
A family bought a new Franklin in 1933 when I was 8, and within less than a year I had to explain to my peer group why, if they were so good, they were no longer made. When I first started out, I didn't know, in as late as 51, I didn't know whether it was named after Benjamin Franklin or where the name came from. And I learned in time that there was a Herbert H. Franklin, and he was an extraordinarily interesting individual. He headed the company for its entire existence and lived to be nearly 90. I met him at the first meeting of the Franklin Club in 1954. The car was designed originally by a Cornell engineering graduate named Wilkinson. As I said, Herbert Franklin was not an engineer. He himself didn't know which way a nut turned on a bolt. His forte was organization, and we've had the very good fortune over the years of meeting a lot of the top engineers, most of whom are gone now. One of them, who's still living, is in his 90s, and he's been here at my house a dozen times over the years. But they were a fabulous group of people, and it isn't just the iron of the car, it's the history behind it and the people.
It's a cool museum. It's cool to see a little collection of pretty rare cars that you never see, but I also like the property that the museum is on. It's really pretty. Very Arizona, very Tucson.
this is the workshop. This is actually a Packard, even though we're at the Franklin Museum. So Packards are just so interesting, it's so neat. That's kind of neat that he's got both. Most everything else we've seen, though, is air-cooled, which is just staggering to see a 12-cylinder engine in a car that's air-cooled and works in Arizona so well. This is kind of a neat one just because it's a Tucson car. So it was bought new in Tucson. In 1924, I mean, there was not a lot in Tucson. So to have somebody have the kind of money to buy a Packard is pretty amazing. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty unscratched.
So we were starting to feel a little cooped up and decided it was time for an adventure. Only thing was, pretty much all our camping gear was sitting in Lima at the moment. That meant it was time to do some shopping.
What are we doing?
We just got a bunch of like cooking stuff from Goodwill. We spent like
$14.
$14, yeah.
So basically what we're trying to do is we're going to go do a little loop through New Mexico to explore. So the work that we had come home early to do, at least the work I had scheduled, fell through. That's what happens with government stuff. So we want to have fun, have an adventure, but spend as little money as possible. Or we're going to take Tonto and head to New Mexico. But we got like a pan, all kinds of stuff. You've seen
We
this.
don't have any of our camping gear because it's all back in Goose. So.
Yep, all of our camping gear is in Goose, or a couple of things we couldn't even find in the storage unit. So I don't know if we gave them away or lent them to somebody, but we're just going to start from scratch and see how cheaply we can sort of outfit ourselves for normal camping. We have a cooler. So what the stuff that we did have? We had a cooler
and a stove.
And I think there's a shovel under the seat here, and I have a tow strap. But I don't even have a tire plug kit or anything. So we're going to try and round up the basics and see how cheaply we can do it. So here we go. So we're buying the type of tire plug kit I always recommend people not to buy. This is the real bad one, because to try and get enough leverage on that to get a plug in is almost impossible. But even these, once they get old, the plastic dries out. Think about it, you're putting your full body weight on it trying to get it in there. And if this plastic shatters, you've now got a metal shaft against a tire and your hand is heading towards it with all your weight. So they could be dangerous, but it's brand new, it'll be fine. And then I'm getting just a basic valve core tool with valve cores. And I think that's just how down we'll just pull the valve core if we need to air down really far. And we already have a little compressor. I think that's about it.
So after visiting Walmart, Target, Costco, and Goodwill, we had all we needed for an adventure. Now all we had to do was load up the truck and make some miles. Thanks for watching, and join us next time as we head for the dirt.
I didn't know it was being filmed. I believe it's pronounced Goffin.
Goffin?
Goffin. What's that? Man groomer. Hey, what are you? You, I don't want to know. I'm going to make sure my finger's not on the audio buttons, but